I didn't realize how unhappy I was and how much that manifested itself in my body. In traveling, I saw how other countries and societies treated work, how in America, we are so focused on what you do and how that defines who you are. It's hard to describe how much happier I am now. Now, I intentionally build a life that I love. I'm Roshida and I'm 42. I retired to Mexico City from the United States. Before I retired, I was a consumer auto finance lawyer. My last salary was about $200,000 a year. I grew up middle class with parents who didn't talk to me a lot about money. Being good at saving money came from years of being reckless with money. Before I went to law school, in that time, I was really check to check. After college was the first time when I really understood how expensive it is to be an adult. I was working as a receptionist and I realized I couldn't afford myself. So I knew I needed to do something else to be able to live the life I wanted to live, and that thing was law school. I went to law school at the University of Virginia. By the time I left law school, I had about $200,000 worth of student loan debt between undergrad and law school. I was talking to a friend who invested in real estate, and I realized that I could pick up houses pretty cheaply in Ohio. I purchased my investment property for $17,000 and sold it for around $75,000, and my own home I purchased for $84,000 and sold for around $125,000. I gotta tell you, I hated flipping houses, and that's when I learned that what might work really well for another person from a financial perspective isn't gonna work for everybody. The investing strategy that's worked best for me has simply been investing in mutual funds. So I'm very much in the stock market, hands off, give it to a brokerage firm, invest it in one of their mutual funds, set it and forget it. So after I was laid off in 2009, it really hit me how much debt kind of controlled me, in that I had to go to work, I had to find a job because I had to pay off this debt. And so when I got another job, my main focus with my money became paying off my debt. What I did was I really stayed focused. I paid one thing at a time, stayed focused on it, and I didn't get distracted by shiny things. As I earned more money, I just put it all towards my debt. I lived what you might describe as a FIRE lifestyle without actually knowing that FIRE existed. Once I got in the habit of squirreling money away towards my debt and pushing it aside, then I just got in the habit of pushing that same amount of money aside every month. And as my income grew, I just pushed a larger amount of money to the side. So at first it was to my debts, and then it was towards, when there was no debt left, it went to my investments. Without the layoff, I would still be there. And even with the layoff, I was second guessing my decision to go travel. I don't think I would have gone to take a career break if I didn't have the therapist I did. She was like, if you don't go now, you're never gonna go. I traveled to 44 cities in I think 23 countries in my 1 year of my career break. But in that time, I came to Mexico City, I think 3 times in that year. It was the only city that I repeated. And I just really loved how I felt when I was here. I loved the energy of the city. My plan after my career break was to go right back and find a job. I'd be in a better mood and I'd go back to a different job and things would be fine. But traveling and seeing that the way we work ourselves to death in America is not common around the world made me realize that I could have a different life if I made the choice to have a different life. I always say that I accidentally retired. I paid off all my debt, I saved money, and then when I realized I didn't want to work again, I did the math. I looked at my investments and I had about $500,000 saved and invested. And I knew I was going to get another like 150 in stocks from a company I used to work for. I knew I had about 660,000 because I knew I didn't want to go back to work. That was enough. It was enough for me to live comfortably in Mexico City or another country for a while. If I was in the US, would I have decided that was enough? Probably not. America doesn't really tell us when enough is enough. People who want to retire, they have to, on their own, decide how much money they need in order to retire, where you want to retire, what your lifestyle is going to be, what your expenses are. But that's all part of doing the math that I described earlier. In a typical month, I spend about $2,300 to live in Mexico City. While the cost of living in Mexico is cheaper than the US, the cost of living in Mexico City is higher than a lot of Mexico. So it's a cheaper city to live in, but it's not necessarily a cheap city to live in. One of the things I love to do in Mexico City is exploring the neighborhoods. They're usually really great places to hang out with my friends and to see, kind of like look in on what the neighborhood is doing. And I have a couple of favorite dessert places in town, including some gelato shops that I love.
Yeah.
This is good, Joe. I do have a temporary visa. I have a visa for 1 year. It's a residency visa. I came down initially on a tourist visa and I rented my apartment while I was on a tourist visa and I did everything while I was on a tourist visa. But I knew I wanted to stay here and I didn't want to keep making trips back to the States to stay here. So I got my temporary residence visa and I will renew it. And then in 4 years, I can get my permanent visa. Welcome back, my name is Roshida and you're here watching Shida's on the Moves. Today we're talking about life in Mexico City and all the things I love about it. Strangers, mostly women, were reaching out to me and saying, oh, like you took a career break? I want to do that too. Can you tell me more about it? I was helping everyone who came along and eventually I realized that this could be a business. And so I became a career break coach. I help women who want to take career breaks, leave jobs that don't deserve them behind and go travel the world or move abroad and just do what makes them happy. So I'm helping other women, and specifically Black women, realize goals that they didn't even know they had. A lot of times I hear from women who were like, I've always wanted to live abroad, but I didn't think it was possible. And so a lot of my time is spent showing people the possibilities and talking to them about what their life could look like if they made the leap too. The income that I'm getting from this prevents me from having to withdraw anything from my investments. So I very rarely touch my investments, so they're continuing to grow. A lot of people think that retirement means you're not working at all. And if you are working, you're not really retired. I consider myself retired because I only do work I love and I only do it when I want to. I don't work more than 4 days a week. I take weeks off at a time. I've taken months off and I will again. And I just do the work I want to do when I want to do it. I was the best version of myself when I traveled, in that I was open, I was not stressed, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to do. The only person who could make demands on me was myself. When I had the opportunity to rebuild my life from scratch, making every decision I wanted to make, I made the decisions that made me happy, and I can't imagine from now into the future ever making decisions that don't bring me this joy. I'm very open to what's next. So it's Mexico for me right now. I can see myself in other places for months at a time. I don't know, but Mexico is it forever. I am open to whatever comes my way, but for right now, it's definitely Mexico City.